Et tu, Brute. What is it we do in the Red Pill? We swap notes. Now, I'm sure people have heard all kinds of different stories about us, but I'm here to give you a glimpse inside the locker room. Here, we're going to discuss the field reports that happened a few years back. Brand new guys who are trying to learn the strategies that we talk about. Who am I? I used to be one of these brand new guys. I, like you, was pretty good at women and relationships, but I wasn't great at it. Hard times hit, things got tough, and it turns out there's nowhere for a man to go nowadays that actually wants him to succeed, to thrive, to get better at what he does and improve his lot in life. So, like most guys, I took it upon myself, found a bunch of guys in the same boat as me, and together we built a set of working strategies based on the experience of hundreds of thousands of men, just like us. Men swapping notes, iron sharpening iron. Welcome to the locker room. For this one, guys, we're going to do a nice little light one. A lot of this red pill stuff we talk about is sexual strategy, and I tend to focus more on relationships than single, but I hit both. You've probably heard me at some point talking about how this skill set that you learn to develop, it bleeds over into the rest of your world. Game is more than just about girls. It's about being charismatic and successful in life in general. This is going to be a good example about how you can apply these same tools in a workplace environment. But to the field report. Hi folks, I'm looking for advice here, and maybe I'm hamstering this, but the long story short, I was speaking with a coworker who was showing me something on their screen when that same screen had an instant message from another coworker saying, "Don't tell that guy, me, anything. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him." And this came from a coworker who I sit right beside and supposedly got along quite well with. We've even had beers a few times. I've tried to think as to why he would think this, but for the life of me, I can't find a reason. For some context, he's about 20 years older than me and in a job 1 or 2 grades above me, and we've been on the same team for about 5 years. Of course, he doesn't lift, and he's whipped, he's a BetaBucks, and I have never shown anything ill against him. I would have considered him an okay person, but I've had my doubts now. So my question is, should I confront him, or should I keep this to myself? I've been on this job for a few years now, and I have pretty good status, and I'm in line for a promotion next month. I like the job, I like the company, I like the location, I like the people, etc. Any advice? Much appreciated. Thanks. A couple terms here before we get started. BetaBucks. This here is talking about the lover and provider dichotomy that most women have for their mental models. In this space, we call it the alpha fucks and BetaBucks. In this case, one guy is obviously the man of sexual desire, and the other one is the dutiful husband and great father of my kids. They don't have to be in a different person, but when people mention these, they usually get the terminology wrong. And when they say BetaBucks, what they actually mean is a guy who's just unattractive. Better term for that is an omega, but that's a topic for another video. Just know here, in the case that he's using it, he's looking at a guy who is just generally not seen as an aspirational model. The hamster. The hamster is a term actually to describe women. He's kind of using it in the wrong place here. The idea is when a woman has a conversation, it usually starts from an emotional state. If she feels good, then you're a good person. If she feels bad, then it must be your fault. It's all the kind of thing where a female brain has the mouth as a filter to process information, where guys, it goes internal, generally. We tend to sulk and seethe and think things through quietly and then speak. Girls, the act of speaking itself provides their way of processing their feelings. The reason that the hamster is used here is because the process can look a lot like a hamster running on a wheel. A girl will obviously feel something, and then, like running on a wheel, desperately working to kind of have the frontal lobe catch up with the limbic brain and create a narrative justification for that feeling. When he's using it in this case, I'm not sure what he's getting at, but there's the definition, so there you go. My advice for this guy, it's pretty straightforward. This is straight out of 48 Laws of Power. There is no reason to confront this person. There's going to be no resolution. In fact, it's a good rule of thumb whenever you're going to have any interaction, think about what is the optimal outcome for it. And in this case, confronting somebody about this, you're going to get one of two reactions. The first is going to be denial. I never sent that, you didn't see it. And naturally, you're going to want to argue that because, yeah, I did see it, it's on the screen. He was going to say, I'm not talking about you. I saw it was my name. And you see, it just gets into this giant argument, and it's going to become more convoluted over time until eventually you're at the point where both of you guys are saying, I respect you and you respect me, and then you shake hands. Nothing gets resolved, except for he actually now knows a piece of information that you don't. He knows you know what his inner thoughts about you are. And so he's going to change his behavior accordingly. He's going to hide it better. Problem is, this is the kind of guy who's probably going to sabotage you when it comes to a promotion. And I've been in that situation, and I've seen the guy do that to me, so I'm saying this from experience. What you generally need to do is ignore it, but never forget it, and always remember it. The beauty of having somebody who is not an ally to you is that they're going to be predictable. If you put them in a position where they're able to impact you negatively, they'll most likely take it. So what you can always do, and I don't want to get too much into like laws of power stuff here, but if you set people up into positions where they can make themselves look worse by trying to make you look bad, that can avoid a whole lot of pain in the workplace. The other thing I would suggest, I would not treat having beers with somebody and being social as a strong friendship criteria, or in this case, I guess being okay, but you get the idea. I've done it myself. I don't know if you know this, but I've been to a certain convention in Florida, had beers with a lot of different guys, we had great conversations, they're generally good people. But upon returning, Canada side, seeing nothing but some of the worst vitriol and the weirdest, disingenuous brand conversations ever surrounding it. So, being the kind of person that I could sit down and have a beer with doesn't treat me as friendship. Or even cordial acquaintances. What you need to use as this metric is putting somebody in a position where they could cause you harm and they don't. Putting somebody else in that same position in a reciprocal where you could harm them but you don't. Having these situations happen more than once is how men tend to establish bonds of trust between them. So what you can do, if you're in this situation with a different coworker and you don't know where you're standing, put them in a position where they could either do you harm or protect you. And then see what they do. And it lets you know right there where you stand. Regardless of what they say, regardless of how many beers you've had, it lets you know everything you need to know. An alternative to this scenario, there's not really an alternative. There's always going to be somebody who's a complete dink at the office. I have a feeling, and this is just speculation on my part, if he's that much older and 1 or 2 grades higher, but this guy's up for promotion, there may be a little bit of jealousy in there. I've worked with a lot of lifers. Lifer is a term we use to describe a guy who's been in the military for 18 years, and just before their promotion comes in at the 20-year mark, they tend to get this pity promotion, I guess is the way to call it. Meanwhile, you're an uppercomer, you're going to get that same promotion within 5 years, and some resentment builds up from there. You just have to expect that if you're doing something better than somebody else, that they're not going to like you for it, and you got to act accordingly. Do what you can to minimize their opinion, do what you can to show your performance and more on your utility to others, especially the command team, as more important than this guy, and it will help you weather this. Now, it's not a guarantee. I mean, I've also been in the case where I've worked with girls that were feminist, and because they wanted to put a bright face on the organization, they would promote them ahead of me as well. Sometimes it's just the game is the game, and you might have to move out in order to move up. But just realize it is a game, and perfect job performance is no guarantee of job stability. So treat this as the mercenary environment as it most likely is, and you'll probably do just fine. On that note, Thanks, guys, for listening in on this one. I kind of like these topics that branch into other areas outside of the sexual marketplace, but still have a solid grounding in the stuff we talk about here. So I'll do my best to keep these ones coming, and do your best to click that like button, subscribe, all that other good stuff. But I'll catch you guys later. Cheers.